So my name is Ishman. I work for the desktop team in Red Hat, and we are responsible. We develop the UI of the system, like our Fedora or Red Hat Enterprise Linux, etc. So in the next, let's say, almost half an hour, I'm going to talk about the news in Fedora 26 workstation, which is the official edition for desktop usage. So I've got notes here because my memory is not that good. So there you can see what I'd like to talk about. So yeah, Fedora 26 workstation is based on GNOME. If you are not familiar with GNOME, it's one of the desktop environments for Linux. Red Hat is one of the biggest contributors to the project. So we use GNOME 3.24, which was released in Spain several months ago. And the major things in the new release. Is anyone familiar with Redshift, or I think it's like Flux, etc. feature? Anyone using Redshift here?
Yeah, I use it.
No, not so many people. Right. Basically, what Redshift does is that usually the standard colors or the temperature of colors on the screen is like too cold, like too blue, and which, based on some scientific findings, is not good for your sleep, etc., and it strains your eyes and so on. So there are projects that are trying to shift the color temperature of your screen as the time goes like in the evening, so it gets warmer and warmer. The later hour you have. People on Linux usually use Redshift, but the thing is that Redshift requires X server, which we replaced by Wayland in the previous version. And there was a bit of an uproar that people can't really use Redshift with the newest Fedora, etc. So the GNOME developers came up with like a similar feature that is built in GNOME. So if you go to Displays, it's called Nightlight or Noční světlo in Czech. You can turn it on, and as you can see, that's the effect. So this should be like better for your like sleep and eyes, etc. Yeah, so you can either based on your time zone and time, it automatically sets it, or you can set your manual setup, for example, to start at 7 o'clock and so on. If you push it bit back, then you see that's basically how it works. What I wanna add in the next release is that you can actually set how intensive the change is, because some people find it like too intensive, that the shift is like too big, so that it's too much into the warm colors. So that's one of the most visible new features. Also, GNOME Shell, which is the desktop itself, or the desktop interface, like basically everything outside the applications themselves. Got like a lot of performance improvements, like in search, etc. So if you search for applications, here you also get results from documents, files, etc. that should be like much faster and should consume less resources. There was also a small design of this panel with notifications and events and calendar, so that the interface is a bit cleaner, but nothing major. What we did for Fedora 26 is that we improved the compatibility or integration of Qt applications with GNOME desktop environment. As you may know, there are pretty much two big graphical toolkits that are used to develop desktop applications for Linux, and not only Linux, because, for example, Qt is like pretty multi-platform. So it's Qt and GTK. So GNOME and GNOME applications are using GTK, but we are also trying to make the Qt applications the first class citizen. Until now, mostly like Qt applications and GNOME applications have settings in different areas. If you set something in GNOME, the Qt applications didn't really adjust, etc. So we are developing something that is called Qt GNOME platform. And one of the new features we have there is Advaita, like GNOME is using Advaita theme and we ported it to Qt. So Advaita is not only GTK but also for Qt. That means that the look of Qt applications is as close to GTK applications as possible. So I'm gonna try, for example, calculator from GNOME and gcalc from KDE. As you can see, those are like two. This one is GTK. This one is Qt. You can see that the look is not like all the elements are not 100% the same, because still those are different toolkits, but it's quite similar. And what's new is that if you can actually use different versions of Advaita. So if you, for example, prefer dark theme, you can use Advaita dark, and we also have a version for it in Qt. So before and also in other distributions, if you switch to, for example, Advaita dark, all the Qt applications stay white or stay the same theme. So now it also syncs with that. And we not only that we have Advaita dark, but we also have a high contrast, and it's also ported to Qt. So again, usually if there is a person with like not that good vision, like they require like very high contrast to work with computers, then before that they were pretty much out of luck. It only worked for GTK applications. Nowadays it works for Qt applications as well. So that's Qt GNOME platform. We are also working on improving integration with Qt applications on Wayland, because that's also something that is currently not working very well. Because on Wayland, for example, the clients, that means the applications, are responsible for drawing the window decorations. So if there is an application written in GTK or Qt, it pretty much relies on the toolkit to draw the decorations, and Qt just picks some very default decorations for the toolkit, which look completely out of place. So with the Qt platform, most likely in the next version of Fedora, we will draw the same decorations like you have in other GTK applications. Other than that, also there have been improvements in Flatpak. If you are not familiar with Flatpak, Flatpak is a project, I can show you the website, which aims to bring an application, a format for distribution of desktop applications across distributions. So you don't have to, if you are an app developer, you don't have to create an installation file for Fedora, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, etc. Just create one Flatpak and it will work on all of them. And besides that, it also does sandboxing. That means like the application is as much isolated from the host system as possible. So if there is any security problem in that application, it doesn't really escalate outside the sandbox. It's been in Fedora for like last 2 or 3 releases, but the support is still improving. Currently, they are working on FlatHub, which is supposed to be like a centralized repository for applications that are available for Flatpak. It's basically like a traditional repository for packages, just it works with Flatpak, so you add the repository. Currently it's not enabled by default in distributions, it's still like fairly early on. But if you enable it, then all the applications that are available there just pop up in the, for example, in GNOME software or any other catalog that can work with Flatpaks. Let me see if I can filter based on, yeah. So and then here you can see all the apps that are available in FlatHub. It's like several dozen of them. They are currently working on adding LibreOffice as well and KDE runtime, which will enable them to add like around 100 KDE applications that are packaged for Flatpak. The advantage for users is that you pretty much remove the middleman between the user and the app developer. So the app developer is himself or herself can release a new version and it goes directly to the user. So the users don't have to wait for the next version of the distribution or until it goes through all the processes in the distribution, but they can get the latest and greatest like immediately without doing anything with the host system, because it doesn't depend on the host system at all. The applications use runtimes which work as a platform for the application, but they are not dependent on the host system either. So you can have, for example, it's been used for nightly versions also. So you can, for example, do Firefox nightly, and you don't have to really care about stuff like what distribution you are using, what version. If you have all the dependencies, it's all sorted for the user. So that's FlatHub. Also, there have been a couple of changes in settings. Like the long-term goal is to change the interface of settings to something that you may know from mobile platforms like Android, and I think iOS is using it as well. Basically, you have the modules are listed on the left, and then you have the content of the module on the right. So not a great view right now, but a list view, and it helps. Like first, this window is not resizable, it's not flexible, which makes problems on some computers and monitors. And also, you can't really emphasize the most frequently used modules. Like you can't really put them at the beginning of the list if you have a great view. So they are changing it, and they are like gradually rewrite the interface of the modules so that they fit in the new view, and the new ones in this series are painters. So basically have like a nice view of set painters. You also have the information about ink, etc. Online accounts have also been revamped, so they look like this. It's basically like top-down interface, and then also users have been they haven't changed that much. Some of other changes there have been they revamped icons a bit as well. Like the icons in GNOME, like the default ones, are like a bit criticized because like you cut all those icon sets around, and you know that Google came up with material design, and someone created an icon set that follows the material design, and it looks really cool, etc. And they criticize that the GNOME icon set is a bit conservative. The thing is that like you have a whole ecosystem of icons, and it's fine if you have, for example, icon set of 100 icons, and they look really nice together. But then you get icons from all those third-party applications, etc., and you suddenly see that it's completely incompatible with like the new look of the new icon set. So in the end, the look or the feel is not very consistent, and that's why the GNOME designers don't really wanna be like very like progressive, and they wanna rather stay conservative because so they make like a smaller changes than one big leap and introduce a completely new icon set, because they say then they would have to create like 1,000 or 2,000 icons for pretty much every application that is available for Linux, which is pretty difficult because you need to have that icons in like several different resolutions. You also need to have a different icons, for example, for the high contrast theme and etc. Yeah, also they increased the maximum size to 512 by 512, which is an answer to high DPI monitors. So before that, the maximum resolution was twice smaller, so 256 by 256. Also, one of the interesting changes was that Tracker, which is a tool that indexes the content of your inbox. So basically, like if you search for something and you get the results here, some of them are like application providers, where application themselves provide the results, but some of it is based on Tracker database, and so Tracker pretty much indexes the content and files in your home, which may be like a potential security problem, because there have been cases when someone created a malicious file, when a Tracker opened it and tried to index it, it executed some code and could like I don't know, like do something malicious in your home, like remove files, copy files, whatever. So that's why they sandboxed Tracker process. So if this happens, it shouldn't get outside of that process. They are gonna do the same with thumbnailers. There was a case when someone created a CVE against Nautilus because one of the thumbnailers, which was actually downstream only for Ubuntu and Ubuntu related distributions, that it opened exe files and tried to like index them, and there was a security hole in that, and that guy who found it like mistakenly, I don't know why, reported it against Nautilus, and it was not the case, the problem of Nautilus at all. But the time, like indexers generally are very vulnerable to any exploits. That's why the project is trying to sandbox them as much as possible. Okay, so there have also been some news in applications. So we've got application that is called recipes. Like people often ask why someone created an application with recipes when we have like dozens of websites with recipes. And the thing is, it was created by this guy down here, Matthias Klassen, and he just wanted to have some test application where he can try all the, because he's one of the main developers of the GTK toolkit, and he just wanted to have some application where he can test from the app developer point of view all the new features, and also it should be a test application for Flatpak. So that's why, because he likes cooking, he just created an application about cooking. But it's actually pretty neat. I can show you some. Let's. This one is the. So you can create a salad. You can, based on number of serves, it changes the ingredients. You can create buy list, like shopping list here. You can also like paint when or share. You go to a store, and once you start cooking, it goes to a pretty nice. And it gives you some of the recipes actually have pictures for every step. I don't know why it's not for this one. Let's say some. Oh, yeah. Not sure which have. Yeah, I also have like, if there is something like you need to take some time, it has like built-in timers, so you can measure it from here as well. Keep cook. So it's like a pretty neat application where he tries all the new things. Also. There will be a presentation about Firefox, but GNOME itself has its own browser, which was called Epiphany. Nowadays they call it just GNOME Web. The advantage, it's based on WebKit. The advantage of it is that it follows the GNOME guidelines, so it very well integrates with the rest of the system. Also, you may be familiar with Safari from Mac OS, and Safari, when the new version was released, it was very suspiciously similar to the new interface of GNOME Web. So it was like GNOME Web got a new interface, and in 6 months, Safari was released with almost identical interface. So it's like that can be a coincidence. So you can see that even like Apple designers get some inspiration from open source designers. And the new things in GNOME Web in this version is that you get a better control over, sorry, that's here. Like data that is stored in your computer, so the websites store all sorts of data in your computer, like not only cookies but cache, etc. So with the new version, GNOME Web gives you. I don't really use it, so I don't really have any. Yes, so this is cache you can remove or set to remove in some timely manner, or you can remove cookies, etc. What also changed is that it was the first browser who hit the address bar, which is always visible, and they were like, it doesn't really have to be visible unless the user wants to type the address. So why to have that text field there all the time? So they pretty much removed that, and there was only the name of the website, or if it doesn't really have any title, and there was the website address, but it was not that text field. And it looked pretty neat, but what they found out was that the discard variability. So people actually didn't know that they can click into it and it changes into a text field. And so in the end, like they had to abandon this clever idea and came back humbly back to an address bar field. So now that's another change that happened. And looking at and I guess that's. Oh, also I want to show you. Yeah. So Fotky got GNOME Photos is an application. It's should be for like viewing and sorting your pictures. The advantage over like traditional applications is that it pretty much meshes all like different sources. So you've got pictures that in your home, on your computer, you've got pictures in Google Photos, for example, in Facebook, Facebook Photos or whatever they call it. And it can be shown in one application all together in Photos. What the new thing is that Photos was like really slow, like this like view, because it used I think GTK icon view, which didn't really scale into like 100 pictures. So now it uses GTK Flowburst, and not only it's much snappier, but also like it's much more flexible when you resize it, and the thumbnails they size much better than before. And I guess that's it. That's all I had for Fedora 26 workstation. So any questions?
You showed earlier the menu for selecting the connected accounts in the settings. What do I gain by connecting some accounts there?
I mean the online accounts there?
Like, should I do that? And what do I do?
Basically, if you connect Google, for example, let's check it. And once you pretty much set it once for all applications. So you don't have to go to, for example, Evolution and set Gmail there. You don't have to go to GNOME Photos and set Google Photos there, etc., etc. You once log into your Google account. Here you can check what services it should connect to, and then it's automatically enabled in all the applications that can use online accounts. So that's the major advantage of it. That's the same with, for example, Nextcloud, etc. It's like a centralized setting for accounts.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, it does. It opens a window in like a web view, and you log in, and it works that way as well.
What's true about integrating Firefox into GNOME Web?
Oh yeah, no, it's already implemented, but it's coming with the next version. So GNOME 3.26 and Fedora 27.
And is it going to use its own servers, or are you going to reuse the already Mozilla instances?
I I don't know, but I suspect they will use the Firefox or Mozilla instance, because when I spoke with one of the developers, they thought it would make it easier for the users to use Firefox and GNOME Web at the same time. So I guess that's then you have to use the same server for it, basically. Any other question?
You can go back to the social accounts and these things. Is it able to confirm every use of some account used there? Like if some application wants to do something on the web, I just need to confirm. Or it's just every application Genome has the rights to use something.
Right. Well, in the future, yeah, they would like to have a system of rights that the application would have to be allowed to access it. But right now there is no way to. It's a debug service, and pretty much any application can connect to that. That's why they don't really want to promote it outside GNOME, like for third-party applications, because it's still missing that important thing that is like you should be in control what application is using it or not. That's why I am not sure even if it has any like public API which any like third-party application just pick and use. Right now it should, by design, and it's intended to be limited only for GNOME applications.
Is it planned any recipes website?
With the I don't.
Because the content is distributed via the package, right? Of the recipe.
The content is on GitHub.
Yes, but it must be compiled.
I mean, I mean the author of it like does it for like the purpose of playing with the GTK application itself. So I don't think he doesn't have any interest to do any website. But I mean the recipes are in some open readable formats, so whoever wants to create a web application for that can do that. But I haven't heard anyone working on that.
I use it really for cooking. It's pretty funny, but it's not that much recipes there.
Yeah, they're discussing how to actually improve that, because right now the recipes are distributed with the application itself. Yeah. So to get in new recipes, you need to make a new release of the application. So that's actually being discussed how to improve this. But I don't know any details about it. Okay, that's it. Thanks for your attention.